Good morning. You are listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city at WFOY 1240 AM studios. Through the power of the Internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1240news.com. The show will be archived on RyleAuctions.com as they are the host of this program. Additionally, this show will be posted on YouTube.com. We're going to be talking about real estate auctions, past auctions, upcoming auctions, different real estate markets across the country. We've got lots of topics today to help us out. We've got some callers that are going to be calling in from Florida, from Illinois, from Georgia. Pretty neat. And let's go for our first caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Doug. This is Bill Eschenbach.
Hey, Bill. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm actually in Pennsylvania for a couple of days for a wedding of a great nephew, so I'm excited.
Well,
I wanted to give you a call this morning because I saw you were doing your program and say hello to you.
Thank you so much. And again, you're from Florida, so I just said we were talking about guests that are calling in from Florida, and I got to add Pennsylvania now. Not bad, not bad. Listen, tell us about yourself. What do you do? Where are you from? And your firm, please.
Yeah, our firm is Eschenbach Land Company. We're based in Tampa, right on beautiful Tampa Bay. We specialize in land sales. Been doing it for 30-some years. More recently, we've been doing a lot of work, of course, for the banks because that seems to be the name of the game on their REO and their foreclosed properties, real estate-owned properties that we've been helping them recycle them back out to the market. Our firm, actually, I'll brag a little bit. I've got two great young associates, and last year we were 1, 2, 3 in terms of the volume of production for land sales in our regional category.
Wow. What's their names?
Oh, I've got Ryan Sampson, who's an FSU real estate grad, and Nancy Sirac, who holds a master's degree in marketing from the University of Florida and an undergrad from LSU. So we've got the SEC covered and pretty well, and we've got Florida State well represented with those two, and my wife, who is a graduate of Florida State and retired from Florida Trend magazine as a publisher, and has come on board with us for a lot of our marketing ideas and contacts and those kinds of things.
Well, it seems like it was like a week ago, but I was actually in your offices yesterday in Tampa, Florida, and enjoyed speaking with you and meeting with the crew, and of course Linda, who, yes, very famous career as a Florida Trend owner, publisher, editor. She's amazing and basically a mainstay in the Tampa community for many, many years. You also have a past of being involved with the Resolution Trust Corporation, and tell us a little bit about that. Our guests are real estate investors, general public, real estate media, banks, government officials, auctioneers. But again, let's focus on the general public who may not know even what the RTC is.
Well, that's funny. You know, you're right. It's only been 21 years ago, 1989, when it was formed as a Resolution Trust Corporation to resolve and dissolve the number of failed savings and loans, which in Florida was almost all of them.
Yep.
That eventually failed in the last real estate correction that we had. And I was a land broker, couldn't make a living selling land because there were no investors buying, there was no capital to invest, and no banks were lending more money on land. So I looked around and said, you know what, maybe getting a job over there at that RTC organization would be a good place. And I was very fortunate. I ended up getting a senior asset management assignment, ran the sales center from the sales side, and one of the good things that happened along the way was meeting you and Louis Fisher and some folks that came in and just for the benefit of your audience, I wasn't a big believer in auctions back in those days. I grew up on a farm here in Pennsylvania. I only ever saw an auction work when a farmer died and he had to sell off his farm, and so some Saturday morning we would get down and watch that process. But I was really convinced that it was the right way to go when the RTC in one day sold $112 million worth of assets around the country in a big auction out in California. I said, okay, I like this parade, and instead of sitting on the curb, I want to get in it. involved in it, and throughout the rest of my 2 years at the RTC Sales Center, and then for, I think 3 or 4 years afterwards, we did a lot of work with you and Lewis.
Yep.
My recollection is we sold over 900 properties, and we were from here all the way from Florida all the way to Bangor, Maine, and over in New Hampshire, and all over the state of Florida, of course. So,
and Washington, D.C., you helped us at that time, too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we did one there and over in Maryland. That's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, auctions, in my perception, and of course I'm biased, I've been in the auction business for 20, 21 years, whatever it is. Actually, it's more than that. I think it's like 23, 24 now. But with the government, I think, as a taxpayer, you have to be very careful of when you're selling assets, and, because there's always somebody that comes back and says, I would have paid more. And how come you didn't tell me about it? And don't you remember 6 months ago I asked you about this, and I'd like to, tell you that you're wrong because I would have paid $1 million more. And it's difficult because when you were kind of the head of the commercial department, if I remember correctly, in Tampa for the RTC, I mean, you get offers and investors all the time coming to you and saying, okay, I like this property, I'll give you, let's pick a number, $5 million for it. But the terms are always different. The terms are, okay, I need 90 days of due diligence, which really means that they're going to look at it and then maybe retrade and say, it's not really worth $5 million, it's worth 4.1. Or sometimes they say, we need financing. And so you get 4 or 5 different things when people may come up with the same number, but the terms aren't different. They may want a longer closing, financing, the amount down that they will give you. It's all different. Now, in auction, everybody plays by the same rules, and you invest money to advertise it, and we give you the numbers, and thousands of people will call in, will now email in, go to the website, come by to a sales center, and so you have a great deal of information and backup and background to, okay, the reason why we sold this for, pick a number, $4.9 million, because it was the highest bid, it was fair, it was transparent. We advertised it for 45 days prior to, and that's why we sold it to this person, because it was all on the same playing field, same terms. And let me get off my pulpit there and ask you. Did you get that kind of feedback at times that two guys would say, hey, I want this property?
Oh, we had it all the time, and you're exactly right. People would if they didn't get their deal, whatever it was they wanted, we were in the public arena, so they could easily go up the line to the RTC office in Atlanta or even to Washington, where they went to their congressperson or their senator, or they filed a Freedom of Information Act complaint. And so it's kind of, as an employee of the RTC, it was easy to say no, because I didn't have to justify that to anybody. Your offer just doesn't meet our expectations, and I don't have to tell them why. But if I said yes, now I've got to go write a case, convince a panel of all people with more stripes on their arms than I had, superiors, that we should do the deal, and then fend off all of those sometimes very spurious complaints. Sometimes they were good buyers, but they just didn't have the right combination of price and terms. And so I'd make a recommendation, and we get stuff sold. I had a great boss who said, don't worry about it. You get paid the same if you go to committee and you lose them all, or you go to committee and you get them all approved. But you still do worry about it, because it's a process where you're going to be criticized from above. And I think some of that applies to we don't have the RTC exactly today, but we do have the FDIC, and we also have a lot of these banks that are publicly owned entities. I'm surprised that more banks haven't turned to auctions for a solution, and I think it may be coming because, again, we've had bank transactions where we sold something for a bank, and holy smokes, a wannabe buyer who maybe never even made an offer, but has no qualms about calling the local division president of the bank and take it all the way up the line as far as they have to go to, whether it's Wilmington or Charlotte, North Carolina, or somewhere else, and file complaints because they are a stockholder in the bank or they're a big depositor in the bank. So we're surprised that we don't have more banks doing auctions to avoid that and to be able to justify to their supervisors that overlook their shoulder from the different federal agencies, including the FDIC, to say, look, this thing was widely marketed, and my goodness, in today's world, widely marketed with the internet is a piece of cake compared to 20, 21 years ago, where we had to run an ad in the Wall Street Journal and fend off 200 phone calls and send out 150 faxes that,
and catalogs that were 40 pages thick, when we killed a lot of trees back then.
Oh, yeah, and I, when we were doing auctions with you guys, I remember standing there with my staff at the fax machine at 11, 12 o'clock at night, dialing one number after another and sending out 100 pages, which took forever.
Yep.
One of those deals, thank goodness we made some money with you all. I spent $2,400 for a scanner when we were up in New England.
Yep.
With a bunch of documents, and you'd stand there and watch it go across, and then seemed like 20 seconds later it went back across again. Okay, I got one page done. And think about $2,400 for a scanner compared to today, right?
Yeah, it's quite different. Your boss, and my memory is a little faded, but were you talking about Len Green?
Oh, sure, yeah. Len Green and Al Esther, before Len, were good bosses, and they were disposition-oriented. In fact, we were criticized in Tampa one time because there were some headlines that Tampa RTC office outsells the rest of the nation, and we had somebody fly in from high above the organization talking about damage control, and I couldn't understand what his problem was, but he was concerned that we had made the other sales centers look bad because we had sold a lot of stuff, and it was kind of a mindset that I didn't quite understand.
Well, another friend of ours, Tony Barr, who has passed, also worked for you, and I was very, very pleased to work with him on several big RTC commercial auctions. In fact, one was for bank buildings that for S&Ls that had failed, and it was really extraordinary. I think we had 84 properties, and I think because of the timing, we had I'm going to say like 79 of them that were sold absolute, and absolute means it sells no matter what, and it brings everybody out because they know that they can't go to the office next day and say, I'll give you this. They got to buy it right then and there. But I think 5 of those bank buildings, again, throughout Florida, were sold subject to a reserve, an undisclosed reserve that you had because of the timing or whatever. And it was very interesting because the ones that were absolute got more money, more percentage to appraisal, and I can't remember, maybe you can, compared to the ones that weren't sold absolute, and the reason why is the ones that had absolute had more competition.
Well, that's exactly right. If you remember at the time, I probably shouldn't say the name of the company, but there was a shoe company that was expanding across Florida, and they were, ideally, these bank branches for them were great. They had good location, good traffic, good visibility, being bought below what it would cost to build a new site. And we averaged about 73% of appraised value for all the asset sales we made.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, we had to get 80% during a certain time frame, and the rest of them we could drop to 60.
Mm-hmm.
But in our absolute auctions, those bank branches that went in absolute, you're going to buy it as the last person standing at the bid table, those averaged over 80.
Okay, we're back. I guess we had an emergency test. I'm looking at our production guy right now. Apparently we had an emergency test, and we lost Bill, but he's calling back, so life is good. Bill, are you back?
Hey, I'm sorry, I dropped off there for a second.
No, it wasn't your fault. Actually, it was an emergency test. I've been doing this for a couple of years, and that was the first time that it happened during my show. And so all of a sudden you heard, if you're the audience, you're hearing the emergency broadcasting system and all that kind of stuff. But we were talking about percentages, appraised value for absolutes and non-absolutes.
Yeah, I was saying in general sales, we average around 71 or 72%. For our absolute auction sales, we average over 80%, maybe 81 or so of appraised value. But for the ones that we put out with a reserve on it, which was not disclosed, we frequently found the bids were 65 to 70%. And in some cases, we couldn't sell them for that number because we hadn't met certain internal thresholds. In other cases, we had to go back and get it approved and spend days and days renegotiating it. And I asked the representative from the shoe company who bought literally, I'd say, 100 or more locations over time around Florida from us, why he didn't bid on those with reserve. And he said, Bill, he said, I know you're going to sell the absolute ones. I can go do my due diligence on them and make sure that they don't have problems, asbestos or contamination or zoning code violations, that kind of stuff. And I know that if the bid range is within what I can afford to pay for it for my use, and I'm a user, I can probably pay more than investors, I'm going to buy it. But if I go to the auction and there's a reserve and I don't know what it is, I think my odds of buying it are much lower, and I'm not going to waste my time on a property that I'm not certain I'm going to be able to buy that night because of your artificial barriers. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
It is very auction. It is very, very interesting, and I'm glad you recollect that. I was in your office because we're thinking about having an auction on November 18th, I believe, in Tampa with some properties. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've gone to some of our listings. We have about 130 listings. Mm-hmm. We've gone to some of our landowners and said, look, it's been a tough market. Nobody knows precisely where the market is or what your property is worth. We'd like to do an auction with Raul and with Doug Dennison. We'd like you to consider putting your property in. And we have, I think, 8 or 9 different properties today that we're trying to make a decision on. They're trying to make a decision on between now and the end of next week.
Sure.
Commit to them. We said, look, I cannot put a piece of land out there and not have some disclosed information about how we're going to sell it. I'd like for you to make it absolute, but I understand your reluctance to maybe do that. Mm-hmm. But we'd like you to put it up at probably no more than 40% of the current ask price as a reserve number. And so let's say it's $1 million listing today. You put it out there, and we put a disclosed reserve price of $400,000 on it. Anybody who bids more than $400,000 is going to get that property. So 401 or 995. There's some number that's likely going to buy that property that is realistically priced, because we already have a lot of stuff marked down to get to the $1 million to begin with.
Right.
We want to send the message to the buying public, hey, get online, check this out, that you can buy this for 40% of today's ask price. And quite frankly, no one wants to pay full retail. They'd be embarrassed to go to their country club on Friday night and say they paid the full ask price or something. So everyone wants to brag about getting a deal, and we think it's going to represent a great opportunity. We're hoping to have maybe as many as 10 properties will all be land assets and all generally in the Tampa Bay area. But we think it's a chance to reset some value and buy land. As Will Rogers said, there ain't making any more of it. So buy some good locations today and be there for the uptick. Florida is a great roller coaster ride in real estate and in land values. And our highs in 05 and 06 when the market was just tremendous were fantastic. Our lows that we experienced in 08 and 09 have been painful. But it's a reset of values, and a lot of stuff we're selling today is somewhere between 10 and 25 cents on the dollar from that 05 number. So we think it's a great time to be back and looking, and we think this is one way to deliver a better service to some of our clients. Well,
this is an important time to ask, how do people reach you? Because you are the head of this auction, and your company is. We're going to be working with you, but tell us what your website is and your telephone number so people can reach you, because this sounds like a fantastic opportunity.
I was fortunate to get the nickname the Dirt Dog, which is, kind of applies to what I do. We sell land and we sniff out good properties, I guess. But my email is bill at dirt.dog.com, and my website is just www.thedirtdog.com, and all 130 current offerings are posted on there. And if you feel inclined to call me, the office is 813-287-8787 in Tampa. And Doug, thanks for that opportunity. Doug, I wanted to ask you before we got off the air here, you had just briefly mentioned to me you're working on a federal legislation under the auction bill to do some things. We didn't get a chance to finish that conversation. How's that going? What are you working on there?
Well, actually, there's an auction bill, and we've only got about 2 minutes left before the break. There's an auction bill that we'll talk more about in the next segment after the break. It is Senator Brown from the Senate side is proposing a bill that will sell up to 45,000 unused or underused government properties to help raise $15 billion towards deficit reduction. Well, and this is a tremendous, tremendous opportunity because, number one, as we talked about, auctions equal fairness and transparency. It's good for investors who would then fix up property and buy goods and services. People don't understand, and I think I want to ask you during this last minute, if you don't do anything to your property, well, you're doing something. And what that means is that you have to maintain it, and it costs a lot of money to maintain. Did that factor in? And again, we got about a minute and a half here.
Oh, yeah, my goodness. I will tell you, in this cycle, not only do you have to maintain it, in many cases, mow it, keep it trimmed. You've got to worry about homeless people moving on into or onto properties and code violations. But you have real estate taxes, and in some cases you have special assessments or community development district obligations, and those things mount up. And I will tell you that a number of communities are much more aggressive today than they were 20 years ago when they have a vacant property and it appears to be bank-owned, and even just land, to levy citations,
yes,
have it mowed. So they're diligently trying to keep their neighborhoods looking good because everyone's aware of the problem that there's lots of stuff out there. So, yeah, the cost of carry, the opportunity, cost of holding the property and paying the real estate taxes. And I'll tell you, these tax assessors in different counties are not particularly friendly in terms of giving you a reduction just because the market's changed. So you got high taxes, cost opportunity, and then high maintenance on many properties. Even just cutting the grass on it leads to citations.
Bill, we're going to have to leave. Thank you so much for taking time out on your trip. We could have talked for an hour, but again, Bill Eschenbaugh from Tampa, thank you so much, Bill.
Doug, always a pleasure, and have a great rest of your show.
Licensed by the state as a skilled nursing facility and certified for a broad range of payer types, the Ponce Therapy Care Center's team of professionals is committed to providing the best nursing care and rehabilitation services. Choosing a skilled nursing facility for a loved one is always a difficult decision. At the Ponce Therapy Care Center, our admissions and social service staff assist you in making an informed, caring decision. We provide information about our facility, determine your payment options, and strategize about your loved one's regimen of care, length of stay, and expected discharge to home. At the Ponce Therapy Care Center, we are proud that over 90% of those admitted to our rehabilitation program successfully return to home. In an industry that is often seen as the final alternative, our goal is to become your first option and facility of choice for skilled nursing and rehab services. The Ponce Therapy Care Center is located at 1999 Old Moultrie Road. Call us at 824-3311 or visit us online at poncecarecenter.com.
Football season is here, and to celebrate, Nissan of St. Augustine announces its 2012 kickoff. We're kicking all remaining 2011 vehicles off the lot with the biggest discounts of the year. If you've been waiting on buying a new car, now is the best time to buy. Get some of the highest incentives and lowest interest rates of the year on all remaining 2011s. Save $5,000 off MSRP, $8,000 off MSRP, even up to $10,000 off MSRP. And every new Nissan we sell is backed by the Nissan of St. Augustine lifetime warranty. Unlimited miles, unlimited time. Plus, nominate your favorite high school football player for Nissan of St. Augustine's Player of the Week by going to 1420sports.com, and your school could win $5,000. It's the end of the line for 2011s at Nissan of St. Augustine, 2755 US 1 South. Call 1-800-NEW-NISSAN or click 800newnissan.com.
Dealer retains all rebates and incentives with approved credit. Example, 2011 Armada, stock number 617020, list price 46040, sale price 36040.
Hey guys, do you like real pizza? I'm not talking about pizza made from pre-sliced or pre-packaged ingredients. I'm talking about the real deal, the way it's supposed to be done. Hi, I'm Brooklyn Tringali, and my family owns Carmelo's Pizzeria located on the corner of King and Malaga Streets in downtown St. Augustine. At Carmelo's, we offer only the best pizza you will find, and we won't do it any other way. We cook our pies in a brick oven, not a conveyor oven like the other guys, to give you that true authentic taste that you've been looking for. Everyone in my family, including myself, are directly involved in our pizzeria. We are truly family owned and operated. Just ask your friends about Carmelo's and you'll see why we are the fastest growing pizzeria in the area. Whether you are dining in or picking up your pie, you will not be disappointed. Come in and get hooked on our lunch special, 2 jumbo slices of cheese pizza and a medium drink for only $4.95. We also deliver to a limited area. Give us a call today at 904-494-6658 or visit us on the web at carmelosmarketplace.com.
Okay, we're back. That was Bill Eschenbaugh. We at the break at the half hour, we automatically go into it, so Bill, I apologize for cutting you a little short there. We're talking about the auction bill, and I'll read a quick statement here, an article. It says, GOP senator to propose auction of federal properties to pay down deficit. This was written by Josiah Ryan on August 4th, and it says, Senator Scott Brown plans to propose legislation that would order the auction of up to 45,000 unused or underused government properties in order to raise funds to reduce the nation's deficit, the Boston Herald reported on Thursday. Brown said he expects his legislation could raise up to $15 billion toward deficit reduction while streamlining the management of federal assets. There is a tremendous amount of surplus property, Brown said. We could save over $15 billion. That's real money. We'd be converting underutilized real estate into reductions in the federal deficit. The legislation would appoint a 7-person commission to select properties and organize the sale. According to a description of the legislation released by Brown's office, the chairman of that commission would require confirmation by the Senate. The bill will be co-sponsored by Representative Jeff Denham, who is from California, and could be included as one of the yet-to-be-determined deficit-cutting measures in next year's budget. And I want to follow that with one more thing. Before that, the bills are in the House. It's H.R. 1734. They've got 26 co-sponsors, which is pretty impressive. And then the Senate bill is S.1503. What I wanted to say is that the President of the United States, President Obama, kind of started this thing. He talked about it in the State of his Union address that he wanted to sell properties that were government surplus and not needed and costing the government money to maintain, as Bill Eschenbaugh really eloquently talked about in the last segment. But then he followed it up with his budget address, which was on, let me see, I want to say February 14th of this year. And I'm going to quote his actual speech. And it says, to take just one example, and he's talking about trying to balance the budget. By getting rid of 14,000 office buildings, lots, and government-owned properties we no longer need, we can save taxpayers billions of dollars. Well, I agree wholeheartedly. I like the fact that auctions they're fair and they're transparent, and I think that's what the government needs to do. And Bill Eschenbaugh, past head of the RTC in Tampa, talked about how difficult it is to sell property when you've got 5 or 6 different bids, not bids, but offers, but they're all different. The money is one thing, but the fact that they want due diligence, or the fact that they want a longer closing time, or they want less down, or they want financing. The only fair way to do this, and when you've got 6 people that want to buy a property, is to come up with the same terms and let them bid to their highest and fullest amount. So this auction bill is very important. I met with Senator Brown from Massachusetts office in Boston a couple of weeks ago, talking about the auctions and past government auctions that I've been involved in. Jack Richard was the gentleman who I met with, and people already know this, I'm sure, but the legislative aides and the aides in a congressman's and senator's office are really the ones that make things work. And I guess that's just like in any business. I mean, you depend on your people because there's only 24 hours in a day. You can't see everybody. Well, I really want to thank Jack Richard from the Boston office. And next week, I am going to see Senator Brown's Washington, D.C. office, and also going to see Congressman Denham from California's office. They are the two that are really headlining this. I'm going to be in both of their offices next Tuesday. Meetings have been confirmed. I'm here to really talk about the fact that this is a good thing for the taxpayer. And let me go through again the auction bill. We did a auction for the state of Michigan, and it was 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a property. It was a state hospital, and state hospitals, as you know, things have changed in dealing with state hospitals, and they're really out of commission. Well, this thing had been hanging around for a while. It was costing the government of Michigan almost $500,000 a year to upkeep. And again, Bill Eschenbaugh talked about the cost of holding a property is much more than you expect. Well, we had the broker on a couple weeks ago, and he was saying it cost $500,000 to keep that property going. Well, we sold it for $31 million, got it closed, and that helped the state of Michigan sell the properties. And it was also very important because that money went into their budget, which they badly needed. Sound familiar? And they didn't have to pay $500,000 each in upkeep. Sound familiar? And then one more thing is now there's somebody who is a end user, a taxpayer, that is now giving taxes to the government. So it's a win-win-win situation, and I'm hoping that these bills can be passed because taxpayers need a break. They don't want to have more taxes, that's for sure. If it's good for the government and taxpayers, because this will be an additional monies, but it means less chances of raising taxes. This bill of 45,000 properties has nothing to do with the FDIC. It has nothing to do with properties that are bank-owned. This is government properties that they're not using. And if they're not using them, they're costing money. And they aren't bringing in taxes, which trickle down to the county, the state, the city, all of that kind of stuff. So a great bill. I'm looking forward to going up there. I had the privilege of actually going up 20 years ago to Washington, D.C., and I am certainly not a lobbyist. I'm a representative of auctions because I've done it for 25 years, and I believe it's very important. It's very fair, and it gets great value based on the terms and conditions of the sale. And the RTC, it was called the FIREA bill, and that was like in 1989, 1990, I'm not exactly sure. This was for the savings and loans, and this is what Bill Eschenbaugh was talking about, that the savings and loans, they just went under. And so the government had to sell all of these properties that savings and loans had, and also dispose of the banks, and also dispose of the bank buildings. And we did a lot of auctions, but there was a bill called FIREA, which was kind of the RTCC bill. And when it first came out, it had, sale by regular brokerage and sealed bid, but it did not have the words auction in it. And I went up with my former boss, and we had done FDIC properties together, and so I was thrilled to bring like 3 or 4 FDIC reference letters at that time and show the senators and congressmen the auctions would be good, and that turned out to be a wonderful thing because that was a bill that was amended to say auction marketing, and we had mini RTC auction. Hey, we have another caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Doug, what's going on? John Crotty.
Well, John, thank you so much for calling. You are from Colliers International in Miami. Tell us a little bit about Colliers and then the local office, and then about yourself, sir.
Sure, absolutely. Look, Colliers is one of the 3 largest commercial brokerage firms in the world. We do everything from property management, we lease, we sell, we have receivership services as well. I'm based in the Miami office here in the Coral Gables area. I'm a senior vice president and a partner with the firm. I work on the investment sales side and really been specializing in distress, selling a lot of REO and non-performing notes for banks and lenders. Our company right now here in South Florida is working with close to 50 lenders in the sale exclusively of those REO and non-performing notes. So we've been very busy working with all different types of lenders, from traditional portfolio lenders to loan loss share banks to the CMBS originators as well, the special servicers, where we've been helping both doing evaluations and taking things through the sales process.
Well, our audience is very mixed, but one of them is the general public, and you talked
Sure.
about a couple of terms. Tell us what REO is and loss share groups.
Sure. REO is real estate-owned properties and that banks have taken back. So when a borrower is defaulting on their mortgage, initially the lender obviously tries to work out some sort of modification potentially with the borrower, see if they can help them out and come to a mutual agreeable situation. When that does not happen, the lender will file foreclosure and look to take back the property. And at that point, when they get to title, they're really not in the real estate business. They want to clean up their balance sheet, so they hire a broker to take the property out to market, widely marketed,
Right.
sell it for the highest price to try to write that down on their balance sheet.
Well, that's excellent. Your background is pretty exciting. You also were an NBA player, and of course, I used to watch you as a NBA player in Miami for the Miami Heat. How do the skills of being a professional athlete transform into being an unbelievable commercial real estate salesman?
Well, it's funny you say that. Yeah, I played my former career when I got out of college. I played in the NBA. I played as a professional basketball player for 12 years. Played in the NBA for 11 with 7 different teams, including the Miami Heat. I was out west a lot. I played with the Utah Jazz, Seattle, Portland, Cleveland, Detroit, Denver. It was interesting. It was a great job and really enjoyed it. Got into commercial real estate about 8 years ago, and there are a lot of similarities between, really, I think, athletics and business. And in particular, it's hard work. It's also being able to persevere and stay focused when things are incredibly high and incredibly low, as the commercial real estate industry can be.
Yep.
You got to be able to stay focused and stay positive and keep moving forward with your plan, even when things aren't always going well like they were in 2008 and 9. But as a result of being persistent, we've been able to really break through with these lenders, and business has been good for us, in particular the last 2 years.
Well, you have really done a great job, and you're in Michael Fay's office. Tell us a little bit about the office. How many agents down there, and what area do you cover?
Well, our office is Colliers, South Florida. We cover Vero Beach south all the way through the Keys. That's our territory with Colliers. We have over 35 brokers in our South Florida office.
Mm-hmm.
We manage about 2.5 million square feet. We lease about 2.5 million square feet. Last year we did about $440 million in sales just in our South Florida office. And the reality is we have such, through Colliers, we operate and have great group of Colliers brokers throughout the world. Having the international and national touches that we have, and Mike and I are involved very heavily on this leadership on the distressed property group throughout the country. So we're dealing with we have some national note sales deals that we handle for some of our larger lenders. Where, as an example, we'll do a note sale in Chicago. We run the note sale with our local office guys on the ground there, and we have the ability, because of the national presence of Colliers, to do deals throughout the country. So it makes it exciting. But we are experts here in all the different product types in regards to office and leasing. Office and retail and industrial, and that's the world we play in.
You play very well in it, and I've had the pleasure of working with you twice at Colliers. First, we've been friends for a while, and you had a bank that had 2 properties, and we got those 2 sold. And the more exciting one, I think, was the bankruptcy deal that we did last November. Can you relay some of the specifics, how you guys hired us and what took place?
Sure, absolutely. 2 great success stories, working with you, Doug, and I'll tell you, it was, very interesting. A lot of people, I think, don't always look at the auction option like they should, because it can be an incredibly powerful way to get properties out, and particularly when you have multiple bidders involved, things get very interesting, as you know.
Yes.
The first deal you talked about, we had a situation where we were representing 2 smaller deals with a bank that had to get them sold, had pressure on them from the FDIC to get them sold by the end of a quarter, and the only way to guarantee that sale was to utilize your services, and working it together. It was a tremendous success, because we were able to get offers and the buyer to go at risk with his deposit, before close, before the deadline that the bank had to meet. So that was a great success, and we got very solid pricing. The larger deal that you make reference to in terms of the bankruptcy auction was exciting because of the incredibly qualified investors that were involved, and the size of the deal was a retail.
I'm kind of losing you, John. So I'm not sure if it's me or you. Just try to talk right into the phone, if you could.
I'm on a hard line, so I'm talking. I'll do the best that I can.
Okay. Speak up, sir. Speak up. We want to listen to what you've got to say.
Sure. I would say that the larger deal was a retail shopping center that had great cash flow, but was being mismanaged and had a borrower who was in a lot of financial trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And our company got involved in the receivership side, became the trustee, and took it to the court, and with your help ran the auction, and had about 6 very highly qualified investors who had to submit cashier's check with a significant amount of money to even compete in this auction.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the auction scenario, and being at the court and the finality of the bidding, where people knew it was going to transact, it really led to some aggressive pricing.
It was a wonderful opportunity to work with you, Michael Fay, and Colliers again, Bruce Castman, Steve Nostran. Just you have an unbelievable, talented group. The minimum bid I remember from that deal was $17 million, and just like you said, we got an extra $4 million. And probably the most unique part of the sale was that the term said that additional bidding was going to be at $25,000 per pop, per increment, and we were kind of hoping, I think, if we could get 17.1, 17.5, whatever, it wouldn't be a big deal. But it took 161 bids to go to the 21 million. So it was pretty exciting to keep on seeing the bidding, and this was right in the courtroom. And I think I need to post this somewhere, because I think 161 bids for one real estate asset might be some kind of a record. It was, and you were in the in there, and it was exciting and maybe boring at times just to see 3 or 4 bidders put their cards up, and we would recognize the bids.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It should have been on reality TV. Should have had you on there on TV.
John, tell us how to get in contact with you, because you are a force down there with Michael Fay for Colliers. Great office. How do people contact you?
Sure. Our number here at the office is 305-446-0011. 305-446-0011. Again, we can handle any of your property management, your leasing, or your sales needs. Please feel free to call and ask for myself, John Crotty, or Michael Fay, and we'll be happy to steer you to the right professional.
John, thank you so much for your call today. I've wanted you on the show for a while. I'm glad it worked out. And again, have a wonderful weekend, and say hello to the whole crew for me.
Absolutely, Doug. Have a good one. Thanks.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Doug. How are you?
Hey, is this Gina?
It is.
Well, thank you so much for calling. You're from Rowell Auctions, who is the sponsor of this show. Tell us, I know you're the closing coordinator, but Rowell Auctions has so many auctions coming up. Can you give me just a list and real quick rundown all of these things, and then we'll refer to the website so that people can find out about them?
Okay, Doug, I sure will. And you'll probably have to stop me when we run out of time. We have so many things coming up, and the schedule's changing, and things are being added all the time. But first, let's get to October 1st. We're going to have 350 acres in Crawford County, Georgia. This includes a 5-bedroom house with a in-ground pool and a heated workshop. You're going to want to check that out. We're going to be participating in a charity event at the Shepherd Center located in Atlanta, Georgia. If you're in that area, please join us for that. September 26th or October 6th. We have some income-producing commercial real estate, an office building. What's great about this is 7 out of the 11 spaces are already rented. We have some acreage in Beaufort, North Carolina. This is located near Taylor Creek in Front Street Village, a very popular area there. We have some personal property coming up, some business liquidations. October 11th, we have a heating and air company liquidation. We have AC units still in the box, equipment, vehicles, some real estate. That same week, we're going to have some construction equipment for sale, welding equipment, household content, so be sure to check our website for that. We have some exciting bank auctions coming up where we're selling absolute properties. October 6th through 18th, we have a bank that will be selling 25 assets, absolute, in 11 states. October 6th through 18th, we have another bank auction. We have 6 properties, some of which have over 20 acres being sold in various tracts. Some of these are bayfront lots. You want to check that out. We have several opportunities in North and South Carolina for residential real estate selling absolute. We have some more bank auctions coming up in October where we're selling commercial lots in Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. We have some excellent farmland being sold in Florence, Alabama.
You're going to run out of breath. You have, I know, because I see the list in front of me, you've got another 15, 20 auctions. People need to go to your website. What is the website?
Our website is www.rowellauctions.com. That's ROWELL auctions, AUCTIONS.com. And they need to check it frequently, Doug, because we have a lot of sellers that are motivated near the end of the year to get rid of their things that have been sitting on their books, so they need to come back frequently and check for updates.
This is a perfect time to get a deal if you're a buyer. If you're a seller, you need to sell now because it is the end of the year. Is there a telephone number people can reach you?
Sure. They can reach us at 1-800-323-8388.
Excellent. Hey, Gina, thank you so much for calling in. You have a wonderful weekend.
You too, Doug. Happy Friday.
All right. Thank you.
MarkNet Alliance is a national, membership-based network of 41 auction companies. Our companies are successful auction professionals with proven track records and thriving businesses. The MarkNet companies have a staff of over 540 employees who are working hard every day to meet the goals of their clients during our ever-changing economy. MarkNet companies are able to achieve these goals through cutting-edge technologies and ever-growing investor pools. To view the hundreds of auctions currently being conducted, or for more information, visit marknetalliance.com.
All right, we're back. This is the National Real Estate Auction Radio Show. Our mission statement is to provide an educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. We have talked several times about this auction bill that is coming up. It's actually called the Civilian Property Realignment Act. And in the House, it is H.R. 1734. In the Senate, it is S. 1503. This is a bill that is really going to help out our budget on a national basis. This will be a bill that will save cost because they don't have to maintain these unused surplus properties anymore. This is a way to add money to the local communities because instead of having a tax-exempt building, it will be now an end user who pays taxes to the city and the counties. And so a wonderful thing. I will be up in Washington, D.C. pushing this next week with my boss, Tommy Rowell. And I thank you so much for listening in. Again, this is National Real Estate Auction Radio.